Everyone, welcome to another Motivational Monday. Listen, I'm going to do Psalm 23, but I'm not going to try to go deep. Y'all already know this isn't about a biblical exegesis to try to uh, dig into the word to the point where I just might lose you. It's not academic. This is really to just get you going. Just a quick pick me up for some of you. Ideally, it would really be helpful for those who may never really look into the word at all and then decide, this is probably something that would love to get into a little bit more. So overall, it's really just to get your day going, guys. So yeah, that is that is what this is all about. And for today, though, specifically, this is about understanding the spaces that you should be in, the ones that you should stay in, the ones that you should lay in, the ones that you should walk through, the ones that you should run through. And when I look at Psalm 23, it's the Lord's, not the Lord's prayer. It's the Psalm of David, popular. It begins, "The Lord is my shepherd." Even if you're not religious, you know this text in some form or fashion. And I'm going to read it, but the reason why I just want us to focus on maybe 2 points, maybe really just one. It's this sense of awareness and understanding what's guiding or who's guiding you. So it says, "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. And surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." What's kind of cool about this text is really just two things. The first one is David begins speaking about the Lord in the third person. And as he is reflecting on the very person that he's calling his guide, his leader, the person that he can't walk, he can't really travel without, he wouldn't be able to make this journey without a person who's his North Star. He starts to shift from him being in the third person to speaking to him in the first. And for me, I guess there's this level of affection when you probably are talking about somebody who might be in the vicinity, and eventually, because you're just speaking about them so lovingly, you just can't help but tell them about themselves in the rest of the conversation. And it's kind of like how I'm seeing this whole thing play out. But look at the locations, though. Look at the locations of where David is. First, he's talking about, for those of you that see "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." This want means lack. I shall not be in need of anything. So that's what that means. It doesn't mean that he doesn't want the shepherd. It means that the Lord is my shepherd, semicolon, I shall have everything that I need, or I shall not want for anything, lack for anything. So he says here, green pastures. Then he talks about still waters. Then he talks about different paths. And then he hits on valleys, shadow of death. And that's an interesting one because just from a superficial literary standpoint, it's not a valley of death. It's the valley of the shadow of death. That if that doesn't cause anxiety, I don't know what does. Can you imagine death looming? You only see the shadow, but you don't really see the thing itself. My goodness. But then he switches to a table at the end. So you've got pastures, waters, paths, valleys, tables. David, what kind of journey is this? It's the journey of life. There are those of us who right now, we're in the pastures and it's a beautiful space. Don't rush that. Stay in the lush green. And by the way, this is ancient Near East, right? So this isn't necessarily, from my understanding, from a historical standpoint, a place where it was just like a huge patch of greenery. From my understanding, it's just been like a clump of grass here, a clump of grass here, and that's how some people interpret it, where it's really a desert in that agricultural area. And so it's really just a patch here, a patch here. So he's leading me to these patches. He's laying me down on where these patches are. Interesting perspective. But for those of you that want to imagine it's lush green pastures, hey, go ahead. The point is, he's allowing you to lie down in a place of vegetation where you can rest and you can rejuvenate, you can feed, and then he leads you beside still waters. That's amazing, right? So that's a sense of peace. I mean, it says it, right? He talks about him, his soul being restored by being in those places. Now, he then talks about walking through the valley of the shadow of death. There's a lot of deaths, a lot of ofs, I mean. And he's not fearful. So, first, God guides him. Because God guides him, he's not fearful. And he says why? Because he's with him. He's with him. He doesn't lay down in the valley, guys. Like, I'm not trying to be deep in this thing. That's not my goal. I'm just looking at this passage along with you. And as I'm looking at this thing, he lays in the pasture, but he walks through the valley. It's interesting. He doesn't even run through the valley, y'all. But he's not tiptoeing either. It's as if he's walking through it confidently. Now, mind you, it's a valley of death or a shadow of death, but he's not, from what I'm looking at here, my man says, I'm not fearful because I know the person who already led me in the pastures, he's going to lead me through this valley. And then there's a table. The interesting thing about the table is it's not a table where there's nobody around. There are people around, but the people who are around are his very enemies. That's crazy. So once again, as you begin this day, just think about where you are. Are you in the pastures? It's a great place to be, but you won't be there forever. Are you in the valley? Hey, listen, it's rough, but you won't be there forever either. As a matter of fact, hope you're not laying in the valley. Don't stay in there. Too often times, especially for myself, we sit in our anxiety or we sit in our depression. And more than sit, we lay flat out in it. Uh, I think we're going to talk about this next, where sometimes you just need some grounding tools, some things to kind of uh, not snap you out of it, but psychological things that's going to help you to embrace reality or embrace your presence. I think that's what God did to Elijah. Now, we're already going into another text, but the fire, the wind, the earthquake, I think he was grounding him. He had him eat food, rest. So anyway, and then he whispers to the voice, man, it's crazy. When you're in the valley, don't stay there. Find, and first, we do believe it's God, but find the things or the people who are going to try to, in a sense, snap you out of it. Yeah. Now, mind you, I'm not talking about clinical depression. That's not something you can snap out of and shake off. So I'm not talking about that. But what I am saying is that when you are in this place, when you're in this dark place, that there is somebody who's already in there with you. So you need not fear, but don't stay in there. Don't lie down in it. It's tough. I know that's tough for some of us to hear who are in it, but for somebody who was in it recently, don't lay down. Don't lay down. Keep walking through it. Okay. And the last one is him sitting down. So first he's laying down, then he's walking through, and now he's sitting down at a table that's being prepared. And it's not even him that's doing the preparation. It's the very person that led him. So this is an amazing passage. It not inspires me, but it comforts me. It gives me peace to know that there is somebody who's in my corner. Guys, there are people who are in your corner too. Not just God, but there are people, your community. You've got some friends. You don't need many of them. You just need one or two, who are going to also be there with you. Be there with you in the pastures. You need somebody next to you in the waters. And you also need somebody who's going to walk through the valley. Now, there's some times when it's just going to be you. It's just going to be you and God. But when those times come, just know that you're not there by yourself. All right, guys. The year's almost done. We've only got a couple of weeks left. Let's push through, all right? So I hope that you are blessed, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Oh, so what's coming up? By the way, I'm going to do something interesting today. I think I'm going to put it on YouTube and then put it on Facebook for the rest. We're going to look at how I think about certain things, and I think it might be interesting. So stick around for that. All right, guys. Have a great Tuesday.